you've got to play the long game.
So I went from doing nothing and sitting at home with kidney stones to working literally like 80 hours a week. Stop working for, should we say, assholes. That good film job offers. Both rescinded because of COVID. I'm at the crossroads in my life. I have to do something here. We got no money.
Especially once you're in business for a while, you recognise what other people have done.
I have 3 P's. People, process, and profit.
We did really well with it. There was a bit of good fortune.
How did that happen?
I think we
believe that the brand has overtaken our identity. And that is how it started.
This is John.
And this is Nick.
And this is
How It Is. So how did we start? Compliance Guys' inception to me was that myself and Nick have known each other since around about 2007, 2008?
2008.
2008. It was 2008. It wasn't 2007.
No.
Yeah, because I remember Chris Walker was with me the day the Cattles went, and that was 2008, and that was
February.
literally right at the very, very start of the whole financial crash.
Yep.
With the credit crunch.
Credit crunch.
Yeah, I don't like that term. Credit crunch is interbank lending, if I'm not mistaken, but hey.
Or a really bad name for a bag of crisps.
That's very true. Expensive bag of crisps. So me and you met each other at First Response Finance, which I was there for about 12 years. You came on board, and at that time, you know, we were going through a lot of changes as a company anyway. Let's see, so when was that? 2008. So yeah, the FCA weren't even thought of then. It was the FSA at that point, wasn't it?
Office of Fair Trading.
Yeah. And the OFT used to look after things. So even going back then, I used to do the old consumer credit licenses, which was all very much free text. And I learnt as much as I could about compliance to basically be one step ahead of all my competitors. I say competitors, the other field sales reps on the road at that time.
We've always tried to say, haven't we, that when we were reps, do more than your average rep, and I think that was one part of it, wasn't it?
Absolutely, you know, and because like for me, it's that if you're going to do something, well, you know me very, very well. I'm all or nothing, and like if I'm going to do something, I want to be 100%, and I want to be the best at what I do. And it blows my mind when, you know, the reps were out there, and I remember when the FCA, you know, came into fruition. They were talking about interim permissions, and I spoke to a rep of a prime company, and he didn't have a clue. He did not have a clue. He's like, I don't know what the FCA is, which I found embarrassing. So anyway, we struck it off very quickly. Both extremely different, but we found out that we think exactly the same. It's quite scary. And then when the crash happened, then just after that, and the FCA started coming into fruition, and you know, the interim permissions and stuff, the legendary Johnny Such, at head of sales at First Response, brought all the BDMs into the office, and once a month for about 2 days, I think it was, and we'd have to read Conk, all 673 pages of it at that time, and then we'd debate it over a course of like 2 days, highlighted all the salient points, how it would affect the industry, how it would affect us as a company, how it would affect our dealers.
Do you remember how we thought it'd affect the industry back then?
Oh yeah, I thought
we thought we were going to lose about a third of dealers, was it?
Yeah, I thought it was going to kill everything off, and even stuff like, you know, the trading names, and I remember
trade cars.
Trade cars. Oh my God, how Trade Centre Wales gonna? And it was all these big things, and but it was interesting. But we went down the rabbit hole,
yeah,
and that was the big difference. We went down that rabbit hole and really, I enjoyed it. So then, of course, we would carry on doing the FCA applications, or helping car dealers do the FCA applications, as it then was. And you left. You left. And I left the whole of my life. It's never quite the same, you know, because we would be away at Nottingham Village, you know, for a number of nights together. So we would see each other quite a lot. And when that came away, when you went away from that, then it was weird for me. And then, of course, I don't know, things got too easy.
That's why I left.
Yeah, and it's like people get, like, I had it really, really good at a first response. We were a good company, and I built my area up from literally nothing to one of the best areas that they had. And I remember walking into this dealership in Aberdare, and I had my sales pitch ready. He went, "Hi there, I'm John Ricks," and he went, "Stop there, I'll deal with you. I've heard about you." I was like, oh, there's no fun in that. There's just no fun. I remember it really, really well. And then, of course, I left, and I went on that kind of journey of working for pretty well. I won't say too much because this is going to go on there, but the experiences were not good for me at that point. At the same time, we were talking to each other quite regularly every week, and then you were going, maybe we should do a business together. And I was like, nah, I'm happy with PAYE. I was saying, what a mistake to make that. No, I'm joking. But I was happy with PAYE, and then in 2019, it was 2019, November, I'd finished with the company I was working for, as my relationship with him was obviously deteriorating rapidly. And you then made the infamous phone call of, stop working for, should we say, assholes? That was your exact word. Stop working for assholes. You're not the easiest person to work with. Oh, cheers, mate. Just what I wanted to hear.
I wasn't lying.
And you said, oh, by that, what you are is visionary. People will steal your ideas because you think of things 10 years before other people. Either steal your ideas or not do them. You throw your toys out of the pram. Nobody wins. I get you. Let's do this together. And I'm like, oh, I don't know.
And we've proved that I get you and put up with you. It's been nearly 5 years now.
Put up with me. So charming, isn't he? Charming. So then, it was 2019, November 2019. Then I noticed that my father was being quite ill. I actually went on job seekers allowance, I think it was. It was like 74 quid a week, which I've never been on before. Every job that I was applying for, they were turning me down because I was applying for jobs quite lower to my normal salary. And they go, no, you're an expert in this field. You will just go after 6 months. And we don't want to do that, which was fair enough. They were right. And then COVID was coming. And then, it all went really, really kind of like horribly wrong. I lost my father. I had kidney stones and all this kind of stuff. And then I happened to help somebody out with doing an FCA application. And he just said, can you help me with an insurance call centre? I'm like, I've never done one of those before. And he was like, well, I don't care. I go, well, it's a lot of policies. It's going to be quite difficult for me. And he's going, I don't care. I'd like to work with you. And he paid me whatever the price was at the time. We won't say how much it was.
It's a lot cheaper than it is.
It's a lot cheaper than what it is now. And then I specifically remember sitting in silence in my office. He transferred the money, and I'm thinking, this is it. I can remember clear as day. I'm at the crossroads in my life. I have to do something here, I did 2 very good firm job offers. Both rescinded because of COVID. And I'm kind of like, I don't know what to do. I just don't know what to do. And then I remembered you'd set up Canon compliance the month before. I thought, I'm going to ring Nick. And I rang you. He was like, yeah, kids screaming in the background. And I said, have you ever done an insurance call centre license before? And he went, no. I said, fancy starting this company and we kind of do this together? We put 2 brains together. And he went, yeah, great. You took your missus off as a company director.
I found that piece of paper in the bed. Frame it on the wall.
He took her off. And that was the start of the compliance guys, and we did the application and got it across, which is, testament to our compliance skills. But then at the roundabout the same time, my luck was as I say, my luck was pretty bad, and I used to do a lot on LinkedIn, and Mike Winnett from IM Productions was doing a special offer because he just started up. I think he
was running a competition for two people who were in need. You're like children in need, weren't you?
Yeah.
Who needed a LinkedIn banner to get them some exposure.
Yeah, so it was that first of all. So I won the banner because you put my name down and everybody kind of voted for me.
And the other guy who won the banner then stole his idea and started selling LinkedIn banners, which I've always wanted to out on LinkedIn. And I'm not going to, but it's always there.
I was going to out him then. I was going to out him, but I won.
Michael, there he is.
Yeah. So anyway, why do we hold a grudge? I hold such a grudge for that guy for doing that.
I think it's because our morals, our ethics are, and I think especially once you're in business for a while, you recognise what other people have done. And I think we always looked at that and thought, what Mike did, he probably didn't realise at the time, and Mike and Ian really was part of that journey. And for someone else to then take that and go, I'm going to use it for a bad reason. Yeah, I think kind of shows who people are, and I think I take that personally, even on behalf of someone else. Because
we always call out Mike Winnett and Ian Darlington for being so good at that point for us. You know what I mean? Like good, nothing but good things, and I contribute a lot of our success to that early. What's the word I'm looking for? The mentorship, maybe, because they did give us a lot of good advice as well.
It's what you do with it, though, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And so then, after that, then Mike was doing another kind of offer because obviously they couldn't go out filming. And it was, you record a video, we'll put like animations on it, and we'll help support it. And for an extra 100 quid or 150 quid, you get a consultation with Mike as well. And I remember ringing you up and going, we need to do this. And you were like, we got no money. Like, how can we do it? We got no money. There was no money. We had nothing. The compliance guys had zero investment, right? So I said, we got to do it. I filmed it in my conservatory. I did all that. The sound is still floating around somewhere. The sound is terrible on it because there's no mics, nothing. My son filming it, and my wife holding up my kind of a script, if you like. And then we put that out, and I remember within 45. We met with Mike. And literally halfway through that, I went, by the way, I can't stand the name Canon Compliance. Everybody burst out laughing.
Including me.
Yeah, including you. And he went, look, I remember your words. You went, look, I'm not precious. What do you have in mind? And it kind of, again, coming off with Mike, and they used to call Jack the Bannerman, wasn't it?
Jack
the Bannerman.
Jack the Boiler Guy?
Well, he's Jack the Bannerman, who used to do the banners, and Jack the Boiler Guy.
Yeah.
So they used to call him that.
Shout out to Jack McGovern as well.
Yeah, there you go, Jack McGovern. And then, it would come back to Jack McGovern. So then, he said, what do you have in mind? I said, well, you're a compliance guy, I'm a compliance guy, because car dealers used to say that about us as well. Oh, you're a compliance guy, you can help me. Yeah. And then that kind of all resonated, and then that was it. That was the start of compliance guys. I remember then we put the ad out, or IM Productions put that advert out on LinkedIn, and within literally 5 minutes, Jack McGovern from what's the boiler?
Glow Heating.
Glow Heating were phenomenal. He went, I need a license straight away. So we paid it back immediately, and then about a week.
It was literally the price we charged. Was the cost of the work.
Yeah, it was. It was literally it. So it just paid it back straight away. And then I remember you then ringing me up because then I went back into selling cars at the same time. So I went from doing nothing and sitting at home with kidney stones to working literally like 80 hours a week in lockdown, effectively. I remember you ringing up and you went, that was a masterstroke changing that name. It was a master.
Yeah.
I remember the words.
I think a theme that's run through everything we've done, though, is not being precious about things.
Absolutely.
It's like no ego, no pressure. Well, no ego is difficult with us too. But overall, it's been like be ready to let go of things that, you know, no longer work. And I think what you have at the start of the business compared to further on is never going to be the same. And if you try and hold on to everything, you never make the progress.
Absolutely.
And that was just the first example of it.
Yeah, this has been business 101 for, both of us. I think, I've learned so much in the, I'd say, nearly 5 years. But, you use a great example because, like, you got rid of the name kind of compliance. It was Test Drive. One of our products, Test Drive app, is now called Drive. So we completely rebranded it, changed it, and it is what it is.
So have to keep changing.
It does not bother me in the slightest. I do not think about it. Not the only thing it is you're so used to saying Test Drive instead of Drive, and that's my only downfall with it. And that is how it started.
It is. The full version.
Yeah. Let's talk about business. Oh my God. What have we learned?
We don't talk about anything other than business. That's very true.
I don't think anything's been easy, really. Well, do you know what? Something has been easy, which everybody says is really hard.
What's that?
Brand awareness. I think, don't get me wrong, we've worked very, very hard on the brand.
What is brand?
Oh, come on, let's just talk about what is brand. That's a really good question.
The reason I ask is, I think if we're talking about the compliance guys or we're talking about colours or logos, I think we did really well with it. There was a bit of good fortune. But I think brand is then what you do with that and what it then represents. And I think we embraced the concept very early.
Okay. Brand is our name in the market. It's being recognised, right? I think we've done exceptionally well at that. I think from going from zero to where we are to doing nearly a third of all limited permission applications with the FCA in Q2 2024 in 4.5 years is phenomenal, right? Not many people do not know about the compliance guys. But, and this goes into the difficulties of it, something that has been very prevalent, is that the word I'm looking for, in our discussions lately, is that I believe that the brand has overtaken our identity. And then it goes back to of what do we actually do? And I think the brand has overtaken that, which is not good.
I think that comes down to when you say about business generally is it comes in stages though, doesn't it? So to start with, we had a brand so we'd get recognised. That was the colours, the logo, etc. And then it was like, well, what do we do with that? Well, let's make sure we do the best job. Let's make sure we love our customers and make sure we really care about, dealers as customers.
Well, even more, the brand is caring, not scaring.
Yeah, caring, not scaring, absolutely. But then we lived that. Almost the phrase came before we did it. It's what we wanted to do, and then we went and lived it.
Yeah.
But then it's kind of, I think, it's then you have to then reset and go, right, well, I don't know, so much changes that you want to incorporate what the brand means, but sometimes that brand identity develops, and maybe you're right that there comes a time when you go, right, let's push more forward what we do because everyone connects with the brand already.
Yeah. Like for me at the moment, what are we? 4.5 years in, or was it 5? Yeah,
a little bit more now. Yeah.
So let's call it 4.5 years for argument's sake. We're 4.5 years in, and this is almost that we've kind of got to do that reset. That's how I feel. Do you know what? I'm going to leave you say it. I'm going to leave you say it because it's just brilliant. Go ahead.
Well, I can't remember who I stole this from. It may have been James Sinclair. It might have been Alex Hormozy, two of the people I listen to a lot. But either way, it was from going from a big, small company to a small, big company. And I think to explain that for people who probably haven't heard the phrase before, it blew my mind. And it's that transition from us either doing or controlling most things ourselves to then having to put in place processes and training and systems and everything really that a big company does, but without the resources and the, every layer of what you have in a big company. But it's a key step. And I think sometimes what happens then is you almost have to take a step back, and things that worked even a year ago aren't going to work now, but without diluting any of the service. And we've definitely done that part.
And there's no kind of like standout time that it changes. It just gradually happens. You go, wait a minute, how come we here? Where how did we get here? I have to say that the last 4.5 years have been by far the quickest 4.5 years of my life.
Yeah.
Like, I just like, wow, how did that happen? I don't know if that's necessarily a good thing or a bad thing. I know that I'm 10 years your senior as well, and life goes faster when you're older.
Do you know why that is?
I don't know. I have read a book on the equation equals MC squared and the about time and how it moves differently.
Was it from Einstein?
It was about. Don't be facetious now, Nicholas. It was about the actual equation. So every part of that equation, and I know. Do you know what E equals MC squared stands for, and about how time moves at different?
According to the mass, yeah.
Yeah. So if you're, and the easiest way of putting this, I know we've digressed, but if you're in a car and you look to the side of you, time moves very, very quickly. If you're looking ahead of you, time is moving slower in that direction. That's the easiest way of putting it.
I remember what I was going to say, but yeah, the point still stands. It's that was it. The time. Why the years go faster as you get older.
Why?
So, if you're 2 years old,
yes,
1 year represents a third of your life so far, or half of your life in that second year.
Yeah.
If you're 40, it's only 1/40 of your whole life.
Yeah.
So, as a period of time, half of your entire life is going to be a hell of a long time, whereas 1/40 is a smaller. So, as you get older, it actually becomes a shorter period of your life, relatively, and that's why it feels like it goes quicker.
You've heard that here first, kids. As you know, with business, I have 3 Ps, which we try our very best to work on, and that's people, process, and profit. We try and get the very best people, the very best process, and we spend a lot of money again those processes, and that's internally and for our customers as well. And then what we've done in pretty much the last 4.5 years is reinvest nearly all that profit. Which my wife doesn't like too much, but
I think that's a business skill in itself, is patience. If you're running a business to pay a wage, and we've had to take wages out with family people, so it's not like I see some people going, don't take any money out of your business. Well, that's okay for people who've maybe already got a load of money, but It's just not the reality.
Yeah.
But by being fairly frugal, being sensible, not going and buying a Ferrari just to show off, is you've got to play the long game, and you've got to believe that if you've got a good business and you're doing things the right way, that at some point it pays off, but not knowing what that point is.
And that's where me and you work very well together, because we always laugh because for the first 2, maybe 3 years I worked here, I didn't know how much I got paid, and I needed it for something. I needed a wage slip, and I rang you. I said, "Can I have a wage slip, please?" You went, "What? You just go into free agent? You could have it anytime." I'm like, "Really? I've never looked." It's like, well, do you know how much you get paid? No, I haven't got a clue. But it's not. Don't get me wrong, it will be nice to that point, and the end game is that we're financially stable and all that. But the fun is the stress. The fun is the business, the learning, and
there are multiple people who this has been said by before around, if you hang your hat on the outcome, it's always disappointing compared to what you expected. Yeah. Mike, when it was someone, I've said so many people say, literally driving down this morning, I was listening to James Smith, the fitness guy, and he was saying how when he got 100,000 followers, he popped a bottle of champagne and really enjoyed it and stuff. He said when it hit 1 million, it didn't feel as good as when it hit 100,000. And when I recently got a new house, my wife's over the moon. She's like this. She's like, I love our house. And I do love our new house. But for me, that is almost a for my family.
Yeah.
And she has struggled to get that. She's like, why don't you seem ecstatic? And I said, it's because if I hang my hat on the outcome of something measurable, like you may find yourself disappointed, but what's actually really important is enjoying doing the work.
Yeah.
Because the bits that are stressful should also be the bits that are enjoyable. And if not, why would you put yourself through this?
Yeah. And, you're saying about the enjoyable parts, and me and you both, we struggle to sleep because we're thinking of ideas, the amount of times it's like any new member of staff, we got in the background, Giro marketing, and I've said to him, then maybe I'll have an idea at 2:00 in the morning, whatever. I don't need an answer right now. I just got to get it out of my mind. And, even though that can be hard on other family members and stuff, like, somebody asked a question about switching your phone off when you go on holiday. I cannot do that. There is
stressed me out.
No way, right? I've got to do it. I've answered calls walking around Disney in Florida and California and all these kind of places, and I enjoy doing that. And it is quite stressful, and there's times you have cash flow issues, and you have all these things which happens in business and staff and all that. But then, one of marketing put out a piece with one of our reviews, and it was with like Jade, one of the members of staff, and it's a phenomenal review, 5-star, and it's just absolutely, that person has wrote that straight from the heart with, they're so convicted in their gratitude towards Jade and the company, and that makes up for everything for me. That, as Don Bruff used to say, gives you a warm, fuzzy feeling inside, like so.
And I think, like you say about staff, I genuinely love the fact that we've created jobs.
Yep.
And we've given people jobs who would never have considered compliance, didn't work in compliance. And they, in my mind, you see the passion there, they'll probably stay in compliance, even if they weren't working for us.
Yeah.
And if anyone left, you'd shake their hand and go, well done. And I love the fact that we've created jobs, that we pay people every month, and that we not just support our own families, but other people. And that's a great achievement in itself.
The thing that, again, that I like is that we give opportunities to people who have never done it before. We mentioned Jade, who have had the amazing review, but her only previous job was Pizza Hut, was it, or Pizza Express? She was a waitress there. We liked her attitude, and she's come out and she is just proved
she loves compliance.
Yes, she knows so much.
Yeah.
I don't want to say just because the FCA are watching this, but she susses out the FCA on quite a regular basis. Her answers to the FCA are like Wordsworth. It's like unbelievable. And that makes me really happy. But it goes back to, as well, in business, and something I've always said I wanted, is that I sit in a big room like this with all our staff, and I know the least about compliance in that room. And that means I've done my job correctly.
I mean, I can't do that because you know me, I'm a knowledge person. Like, I remember Billy was asking me a question about something to do with accounts, and I didn't know. And he said, I'll go and look it up. I went, I'm going to look it up too, because I struggle not to know things. But equally, you're absolutely right that we have to, when we do more, rely on people to be specialists. And I love the fact that I think people feed off our passion as well, or the right people do. And actually, that's often a measure of staff, is sometimes you get people who come along, believe in the journey and want to be part of it, and then you get people who you can see are just drifting. And when people buy into the vision, I believe they all feel that.
I'll ask you the question. I'm pretty certain I know what the answer is, because it's probably the same as mine. But, what is the hardest thing about running a business?
It's staff.
It is staff.
We've said this before.
It is staff. I
think it's because you're not just managing the work. And maybe this is one of the things that has surprised me most about business. I think you know what work needs to be done, but you don't always, to start with, understand that you need to manage personalities, that you have to, and it's not necessarily how we deal with staff, it's how the staff deal with each other sometimes, isn't it? And almost coach people on how to conduct yourself in business. not with clients, but with each other.
Look at me.
You know, it's that's a big thing.
I've said this to you before. Like all my life, I wanted to be the head of a team, a head of a company, or like there was a company before the compliance guys. I was head of that company, a brokerage, and I hated it. I got to that point and I hated it. And then even certain points in the compliance guys, I hated it. And I tell you why I hated it. It's because I'm not very good at it. Right? But again, when you ask yourself questions, and
what you wanted out of it was something different from what it actually is.
Absolutely. And I realize my problem, and it is my problem, is that I haven't got the patience with people. Whenever I've worked for any company, I dedicate my life to that company. Yeah. I will, again, we use first response as an example. I bled green for that company, bled green for them, and I was very proud of the fact that I went in there and had 4 supporting dealers when I first joined, and there had been a multitude of reps before me, and all of them failed. And I went in, car salesperson, and I said, I'm going to make this work. And I knocked every door and I kept on knocking and I did it and I made it work. And when I left, it was like, I remember the rep going, why did you leave? This job's easy. It's like, I made that job easy for you. I opened up all these accounts.
I think that comes down to 2 things though, which is the 2 things that I think we both do very well, which is process and passion. Mm. And you have to have a process for everything you do, even if it's just in your head. But that passion is infectious. Mm. It's infectious to customers. It's infectious probably to those dealers who you used to go and see. And people want to believe in something. Mm. And I think when you put that across, as long as you've got that process in the background for, how you want to, get sales or whatever it might be, I think a lot of people miss that, the passion part rather than the process.
Yeah, but you're absolutely, and you're right. And it goes back to something that we touched on earlier about how the compliance guys started. We were the compliance guys for a reason, because in that gap, which we mentioned from, the FCA starting to, us becoming the compliance guys, we went out there and we spoke to dealers. We used to have a little competition about how quickly we could do the form, things. Yeah. We discuss new things that the FCA did or our interpretation of it all the time. And that's where people go, but you're a compliance guy, you know what you're talking about. And we always did that. I choose my words carefully. It doesn't wind me up, but I don't understand how people don't do that with a job.
But then I've never understood that in any job. So, probably like you, I think it's a bit different now than it used to be. But, probably between those ages of 14 and 18, I probably had 20 different jobs. And that wasn't job hopping. It's just there'd be another job come up. And that's just what you did when you were young. But every single one of those, I look back and go subconsciously, I was like, how can I be the best at doing this? How can I do the best job? And I never thought about who owned the company or like, what am I going to get out of this? It was just a self-pride thing. So if I was a glass collector, how can I collect the most glasses?
How can I do it the best?
How can I make people happy? It was whatever it was.
Absolutely the same. Newspaper boy. I was like, I wanted to be the best.
I believe that pays off in the long run. And when you say about that period between, working at the finance company and being the compliance guys, a lot of what I did was for free. Yeah. Because I'd spend time on Facebook groups or whatever it was, just giving value. So whether it's questions about Consumer Rights Act or FCA, whatever, I was happy to spend my spare time doing that. And I believe when we started this business, that the goodwill that we'd earned by putting that time in for free meant people knew that we weren't just doing this to make money off them, and we were the right people to work with. And again, I think that goes back to patience is really important.
So it kind of leads us on to sacrifices. What sacrifices have you had to make with regards to running this or owning this?
I don't think I've made any sacrifices, but I guess when you look at, I don't know.
I think you have. I think we both have. I think there's time.
Okay, if I've made sacrifices, they're not sacrifices that I would have seen as a negative. So I guess what I mean, if you looked at the fact that I hold this SMF 16 position for the compliance guys, you see it come up on LinkedIn in London. I could go and get a job on £130,000 a year or something, and I definitely don't pay myself that now. But is that missing out? Because you'd miss out on all the enjoyable stuff we spoke about. So you could argue that you sacrifice money in the short term. You could argue that you'd sacrifice time. But ultimately, even if I was working for an employer, I'd still put in evenings and weekends, not because I think they'd expect me to. It's just who I am, and also I don't have a problem with people not doing that. So I don't see anything as a sacrifice. I truly love it.
Because I'm the same. I know my kids have actually said to me, "Oh, but Dad, you're always working." But then I take them to dance and swimming. There was at one point my son used to swim competitively, which is extremely time consuming. And for a short period of time of it, I was sitting there at poolside back in the day looking at Twitter or something. And I went, "What the hell are you doing? What the hell are you doing here?" And I went out and I did an NVQ and a diploma in management. I remember. And just so I could utilize that time. I don't think that I've sacrificed too much of my family time. I probably have, because again, I am always working, and my wife always says, "You need to shut off."
It's that present rather than present, isn't it? Yeah. Are you present or are you actually present?
Yeah, and that, so I kind of get that, but I still always think that, the end game is that I put all this time in now, because in the future I'll have all the time in the world.
I also think that it's like Mikel Arteta's non-negotiables. Yep. I think everyone should have non-negotiables. My one non-negotiable has been time with family, especially on weekends. And how many car dealers you spoke to over the years, and you'll have heard the same as me, which is I never saw my kids growing up because I worked every weekend, but I've got a nice house and a fast car and all the rest of it. And you can see they're usually in their 50s, mid-50s, whatever. And you can see they regret that to some degree. Yeah. But they're like, I don't know how else I could have done it.
Yeah.
I, from a very early start, maybe even before we were in business, decided that I wasn't going to sacrifice that.
Yeah.
So if I'm a little bit less successful, but I get to spend the weekends with my kids and my wife, take the kids to school, my teenager growing up, I went to watch every single one of his rugby matches at school. Most parents didn't.
Yeah.
Football, cricket, whatever it was. And even though my teenager doesn't speak to me anymore, because that's what teenagers do, how much that mattered.
Yeah.
And therefore, some of the sacrifices of being on your phone and stuff aren't the same as some people who work for an employer, but on a flight in a hotel room every night.
Yeah, you say that. It's like I went to see my daughter in the Swansea Christmas parade on Sunday, and I know that some of her friends, their fathers were at home doing it, and I'm like, why would you miss your daughter in a Christmas, parade? This is a massive thing for them, and it's wonderful to see that. And again, so. There are sacrifices, I think, financially. You say about the 130 grand and stuff like that. It is short term, but we have made them.
This is going to be a massive cliche, but I still have to learn something every day.
Right.
And it's not that every day is a school day thing. It's genuinely learn something. And you've probably heard my view on learning is you've only learned something if you could train it out to someone else afterwards. It's not just taking the information in. And I love learning anyway, but all right, I'm sure there'll be some bigger examples, but learning every day is something that stops you from feeling like you've made it.
For me, again, I've learned so much, and I thought I was pretty good coming into this, but about, accounts, development, Christ almighty, so much we've learned around development, system development, and how that operates and stuff. Marketing, just management altogether, or leadership, shall I say. And I sat in these things called like Leadership Academy and stuff. And if truth be told, it's all rubbish. A lot of that is rubbish compared to when you're actually sitting in the big seat and your day-to-day and we said staff being one of the major, I wouldn't like to say the word headaches, but they are a headache to a degree. You love them, but at times it's like when somebody has that little tap on my office door on a Monday morning, they go, have you got a second? You think, oh, here we go. What's up now? All that. But I've learned so much, and so much about myself. And again, it goes back to that I've realized that I'm not a very good manager. I'm not patient enough with people, and I find that I've even said to you about certain members, I said, I'm shouting too much at them. I know I can feel it, and I've got to pull myself away from that,
Again, it's something I heard this morning, which was that James Smith again said he always has a business partner in his businesses. And the reason he said is, he says, because sometimes I need someone to pull me up. And I know people have questioned us before, like, oh, running a business together is unusual. You might fall out with business partners. But I've always seen that as, I'm imperfect, you're imperfect, but together we're perfect.
Yeah.
And I think that keeps us from, being too down yourself. I'll ring you and go, oh, I'm having a bad day, and you'll do the same. And it just works.
Well, when you lose it, which is rare, I find it the funniest thing ever. It absolutely, when you really lose it, I can't stop laughing. And it's like, I think that in itself, then you start laughing, it'll bring you down to it. I just lose it all the time anyway. But you just go, yeah, no problem. Don't worry about it. What would be the 5 things that you wish you know now, which you wish you knew at the beginning?
Wow, that's put me on the spot. I'm not going to give you 5. I'm going to ruin the game. And what I'm going to do is give you 1, which is that I think starting a business for me late 30s and you late 40s was so powerful because we saw in other businesses what had gone well and hadn't gone well before, and had the opportunity to base a business not just on an idea but on a structure that works. And I worry that when people start a business really before they've even had a job, they have to go through so many failures because they've had no experience to do that. So again, that patience has allowed us to learn more than 5 things.
Yeah, I always say one of the things that I've really realized is don't let emotion get in the way of business. And that for me is absolutely prime, because every time I've let that emotional side of me just get in the way, I won't go into examples, but it's smacked me in the face. It's been a big mistake. And you just can't be emotional about these things. And every decision that and I always say this to all the staff, every decision we ever make, it's not about John and Nick.
No.
It is about the compliance guys. So they may not like it, and we may not like it at times. There's things that we go, we're going to have to do this, but it's for the benefit of the company. And I think it's always having that goal, and again, it's the long game.
I've got one that's just really, really important, which is the business isn't us.
Yep.
And what I mean by that is when we look at the business bank account or how the business runs, we are employees and a board of directors of the business.
Yep.
So despite it being ours, if you treat it as too important personally, you won't run the business properly. You have to see it as something completely separate from yourself.
Which is wild, because one of the best bits of advice was ever given to me was a guy called Al Dixon on my first day of first response. And he just said to me, he said, treat this like it's your own business. But ultimately, even though the compliance guys is our own business, we kind of like, it's not. We're treating it as a whole, as I don't know, it's a weird thing, but it's you kind of work it differently.
So that's a wrap for this episode of How It Is. Just remember to follow us or like us or subscribe. What do they call it, Nick? I don't know what they call it.
Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. Oh, you mean what do they actually call it? I didn't think you'd actually know the social platforms at your age.
I don't.
Like, comment, and share on the video.
How about Reddit? Do they do Reddit? I like Reddit.
No.
All right, okay. What? MySpace?
Yeah, MySpace, Bebo, and what's another old one?
I don't know.
Look at someone ask Jeeves.
Yeah. So, yeah, thank you. Follow, like, subscribe, do whatever you need to do. Send out a carrier pigeon. But just keep caring. Look,
Scary.